Oh my god, sorry for the shaky cam. It's really hard to film with a broken arm, apparently. Today, I want to talk to those of you out there who are already drawing, already making art, whether it's for a hobby, for fun, for your friends, for stress relief, or for a personal business or a professional job. As long as you're already drawing, you're probably going through all the same experiences as the rest of us who draw. Is it any good? Is it bad? Is it good enough? How do I know it's good? Does it even look like him? Does it convey the right mood? How can I get better? So, what am I doing here on the screen? I'm already doodling something. What's going on? First things first, this may seem really obvious, but you need to have a clear sketch and a clear outline of what you're working with. And when I say outline, I don't necessarily mean like physically an outline like a coloring page. I mean like a sketch, like a draft. If you were writing a novel, you would have an outline. Any kind of an art piece that you're creating is essentially a novel or a short story or a fragment of a short story, a snapshot, but it needs to have an outline. You have to know what you're drawing. Since this is an actual character played by an actual actor, I used references that I could see on the screen as I was watching the TV show. I also did a lot of Google image research to find different poses of Thomas Shelby. So for me, I do a lot of collage work digitally. So for my creative process for actually arriving at a sketch, I don't necessarily sketch with graphite on paper, even though my final project is an actual analog colored pencils on paper work. My creative process for arriving at a composition is often digital. And the reason that I do that is because I find that to be a faster process. A lot of you are not set up for digital work, and that's perfectly fine. You can create your sketch with just pencils on paper. However you're working, make sure that you spend a lot of time on this stage. Most of the work that I do is behind the scenes. It's never recorded because it's boring and unattractive and messy and wouldn't make for a fun video at all. But I spend several days on creating this composition before I even started drawing on paper. Next up, what are you actually sketching and ultimately drawing? What is the point of your artwork? This also may seem really trivial, but you'll be surprised how many people dive into these really complex and beautiful projects and they don't really have a purpose. And obviously there are different degrees of art that we make and different moods that we're in and different purposes for different things that we create. Obviously having a sandbox and practicing a lot is essential. You should always doodle. I doodle on everything. I doodle the crap out of my cast. But then there's a whole next level of art that we make that we want to put on our walls to be proud of. Our commission art, that's the art that we actually make professionally. And for that kind of work, you have to know exactly what you're doing. Why am I making this? I am personally making this particular work of art to display it. Now, why? Why would anyone want to see a portrait of Thomas Shelby? It's a popular show. It's a character that's very likable or dislikable, but it's a character that produces a lot of emotion. It's a popular character. So what am I doing here? Why would anyone purchase my version of Thomas Shelby when they can just go on Google Images and print one out and frame it, or they can buy a poster at the store or something? It's because people would buy my take on Thomas Shelby. It's not about showing off my technical skill. That's obviously a part of it, but it's about demonstrating the mood. When I share my personal art with people, I share the way that I actually see the world. If I could possibly work a camera into my eyeball and into my brain and snap a photo of how I see things with the filter of my feelings across it, that's art. I wanted to capture this mood, this eerie, creepy, gunmetal blue kind of a slow motion montage of Thomas Shelby walking down the street. I wanted him to be isolated. He's very much alone. So I wanted him to be smack in the middle of the page, very stark, very blank background. But also I wanted to play with like this photo overlay kind of an effect, but done in colored pencils, done manually. And me personally, I also always really like this kind of a dichotomy to a character. I like to show multiple sides of a personality because we all have them. And Thomas Shelby has a lot of dimensions to his personality. He's pensive, he's unsettled, his pose is very different from the pose riding the horse. All of that has to be determined before you start doing all the detailed work. A lot of people think that all that there is to colored pencil art is the technique. How do I shade? How do I pick the right color? It's not about that. The actual colored pencil work is the tip of the iceberg. Everything that's underwater that people don't see, it's all the preparation that goes into it. And a lot of it is psychological preparation. A lot of it is, what am I drawing and why am I drawing it? Color selection is extremely important. I wanted this to be nearly monochromatic, but with a lot of blues and browns in it. So very steely, very cool, borderline depressing. Like the tones that I chose for his skin color, he looks kind of like a corpse. The fog, there's this steam of fog that's constantly in the air. I wanted that to be a character on its own. It's very prevalent in all the episodes. I was very heavy on this ultramarine blue, teal, and lots of gray. I teach a lot about how to pick colors in my color theory course. So if you're serious about your art and if you're struggling with actual color selection, check out the color theory class. I'm gonna put it up somewhere up here. It's a month-long program that you can enter and learn how to pick exact colors for your art with me. And now that we're talking about color and color selection, let's talk about tools as well. I chose to go with Prismacolor pencils on cream toned paper on this one. Why? How do you choose that? I have a ton of pencils. I have boxes upon boxes of art supplies. I have oil paints, I have acrylic paints, I have watercolors. How do you pick? A lot of you are probably surprised that I didn't go for gray paper and white charcoal on this. That is something that I use quite often, and for this gray mood, a gray background would actually work really well. But in this case, I went for cream, mostly because I wanted his background to actually be nearly white. I wanted all the gray to be within the character and in that smoke effect behind him. And why Prismacolor pencils? Well, I've been doing a lot of colored pencil testing these days. I'm teaching a new course. Aside from color theory, I'm teaching a course on skin tones. Check that out as well, somewhere on the screen. There is a link popping up on the course that's starting in March of 2022. Those are going to be live lessons. After that, there will be a pre-recorded version of that course as well. In that course and in color theory, I teach a lot about how to calibrate your pencils. So I've been doing a lot of that myself. I've been calibrating my pencils and learning a lot about the different brands that I'm working with. And time again, I keep coming back to my very first love, Prismacolor pencils. Know your tools well and work with the tools that you are the strongest at. This is no time to experiment. This is a time to show off your skills. So pick the tools that make you look the best and work with them. So for me, I went with Prismacolor pencils. And now that you're in it, put in the hours. Good work takes time. Don't rush this. This took me 3 days. You need at least 1-2 hour stretch per day to get into that zone to actually create the work that you need to create. Make the time, put in the hours. And push on. You will have moments when you're like, damn it, this is totally not working out. I'm so tired of this thing. It totally doesn't look right. For me, the face didn't fall together. It's like the most important thing on this composition. Yes, the horse overlay is kind of cool, but the face is like the main attraction. And I had the most trouble with the face because I totally overworked it. So there were at least 5 times over the course of 3 days where I'm like, I should just put this in the trash and start a new one, maybe a bigger one, so I can get more of the details. And I genuinely didn't like how this was turning out, so the struggle was real. But I pushed through. I continued working on this. And I kept coming back to that face over and over again, running the danger of actually overworking it, of actually hurting my paper. But it worked out in the end. But on that note, also know when to stop. Like, how far do you push it? Do you push it until you actually have a hole in your page? Some artists do, because that's the learning experience that they need. For me, I kind of have that level, that ceiling that I hit of when is it good enough to keep. And for me, it's about 80% of my expectation. Know what your expectation is. I think I've done enough here that I can be happy with it. I'm not thrilled with it. I'm not like, this is the greatest work I've ever done. Oh my God. No. And finally, the very important thing, the most important thing is share, share, share. That's exactly what I'm doing right now. Sharing is extremely important. Whatever you create, show it to your friends. You probably belong to an art community online. If you don't, you should join mine. I have a lovely private community called Tom, where creators gather specifically for this purpose, to share our thoughts and experiences and to get better at whatever our art form is. We're unable to evaluate our own work. I'm unable to process this artwork reliably and accurately, but you guys are. So I'm gonna put it out there. I'm gonna let you comment on it. Let me know, like, actually in the comments. Always leave me a comment. Talk to me. Let me know what you think. Like, did I achieve the right mood? Did I choose the right medium? Would you rather see it done more realistically or closer or brighter or more angles of his face or something? You know, talk to me. That's the whole point. Art is a social beast. Art itself is a form of communication. Go play, have fun, join my community, check out the courses that I teach, and share what you're working on. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just make art.